Good evening, everyone. Once again, I'm Rakhi Gautam from greytHR, the moderator for this special session today. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm happy to share with you all that this is the 87th episode of our Parichay webinar series. And it's been, such a long time that we started the series. And it is because of you all, our loyal audience who join us every fortnightly to attend these sessions. So thank you so much once again for joining us today as well. I see some people raising hands and having some questions. So yes, I think it was mostly when we will start this session. So we are just starting now. And I think we have some 80 plus people with us who's joined us today. So let's make this session a lot more engaging. And it should be a two-way communication. We'll, of course, have our experts sharing their insights with us, but we would love to hear from you also of any practices or strategies that we discussed today, if you have implemented such in your organization and how it's played out for you. So let's make this a very engaging session. And I'll just quickly again take you all how this session will be. So this session is divided in two parts. The first part will be the discussion with our experts, which will then be followed by an audience Q&A. So audience Q&A is where time is all yours. You can start putting across your questions and we will take them up one by one. Also, this session is currently being recorded. So if you happen to miss out on anything, do not worry at all. We have got you covered. We'll share the recording of the session with you all once it is done. And also, this session will be available on greytHR's official YouTube channel under the playlist Parichay. So you can always go there and watch it later. And so I think we can start with the session now. So in today's conversation, of course, we'll be exploring how HR leaders can embrace automation to enhance efficiency without losing the human connection that makes workplace truly thrive. As automation becomes a critical part of HR strategies, recent research shows that 74% of HR leaders are actively investing in HR technology to improve processes and employee experiences. However, a Deloitte study also found that almost half of employees worry that too much automation could make HR feel less human and less accessible. So, how do we strike the perfect or the right balance between automation and empathy? That's exactly what we'll be covering in this session today with the help of our two exceptional speakers, Mr. Anjan A., Vice President, Talent Management and Development at Northern Trust, and Mr. Pakzad N., Chief People Advisor and Consultant at PANPAC. Let me quickly take you all through their profiles. So Pakzad comes with over 24 years of experience in people and change management. He's currently a distinguished leader in strategically aligning talent to create a competitive edge. Currently serving as the Chief People Advisor and Consultant at PAN People Advisory and Consulting, Pakzad excels in enhancing organizational effectiveness, leading HR digital transformation, and driving cultural shifts. He's passionate about leadership development, diversity, equity, inclusion, and leveraging technology for organizational growth. Thank you so much, for joining us today, Pakzad. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you. My pleasure as well. When are the experts joining?
Okay,
I'm kidding.
I love
Hand over to you.
Okay, great. We have experts with us and they're very modest, which is very nice. Okay, let me quickly take you through our other speaker's profile, Mr. Anjan A. Anjan has been with Northern Trust for over 15 years and currently serves as a vice president in the HR talent management and development team. With a strong passion for facilitation and learning, he has been instrumental in driving organizational growth and continuous learning initiatives at Northern Trust India. He's deeply committed to creating a culture of continuous learning and development, empowering employees to achieve their full potential and career aspirations. As a diversity, equity, and inclusion champion, Anjan has been recognized with the Chairman's Award for his contributions to the Disability Business Resource Council. It's great to have you here with us today, Anjan. Once again, a very warm welcome.
Thank you so much, Rocky. It's a pleasure to be here and welcome everybody. Like Pakzad just said, we hope we are able to share our experiences today. None of us are any expert. We are wiser than the other, but we'll try our best to share what we have as an experience with all of you, and hope that resonates. And in the bargain, we get to learn something as well.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that, Anjan and Pakzad. Very excited for this session today. And as I said in the beginning, let's make the session very, engaging and conversational. And to start off with, I would like to launch a poll question for our audiences to understand their perspective on this topic that we are discussing today. So let me quickly launch the poll. Here it is. I hope you're all able to see the poll on the screen. The question is, how do you personally feel about the growing use of automation in HR processes? And we have some 5 options there. It's not a right or a wrong answer, as I said. This is to understand your perspective and how much have you been able to use automation or HR tech in your organization, and what do you feel its implication to our HR processes. I would urge each one of you to participate. We have over 100 people with us today. So let's make this engaging. We'll have the poll for another 20 seconds and then, we'll start off with our discussion. Another 5 seconds. Okay, I'll end the poll now and share the results with all of you also. So 72% of you, majority of you have said very positive. It improves efficiency and frees up time for meaningful work. 20% says somewhat positive, useful, but we risk losing the human connection. 5% neutral, it's necessary, but doesn't impact employee experience much. And 2% are concerned that automation could make HR feel too transactional. And 2% also unsure. We're still learning how automation impacts HR. So thank you so much, everybody, for sharing your views on this topic with us today. So let's start with the discussion. Now we know how all of you feel that okay, if it's going to be too much for HR professionals, or if they know how to use it in the right way, the automation, or if we can avoid making HR after using automation too transactional. So let's start off with Anjan, you first. As I talked about, the report in the beginning about PwC's HR Technology Survey 2024 that indicates 74% of HR leaders are increasing investments in HR technology to enhance efficiency and employee experience. So from your perspective, how is automation transforming management and employee development strategies today? I'm sure you would have the experience of implementing it in large organizations as well. So what do you feel, what's how it's been using automation, and if it's going to negatively or positively impact?
Thank you, Rocky. I think that's a great question. A question that's been doing the rounds in the industry today. Pakzad and I were just talking about it a while ago. There's a lot being spoken about this. Now let's talk about automation. Automation is revolutionizing talent management, right? It's by you're enabling HR teams to move beyond administrative work and focus more on strategic initiatives. Now here comes the fun. AI-driven tools are streamlining recruitment, they're optimizing workforce planning, and personalizing learning experiences. Now in larger organizations, automation enhances succession planning, improves skill matching. It provides real-time insights into employee development. But however, the key to success lies in ensuring that automation supports, and I'm repeating myself for the fact to this, automation supports and not replaces human decision making. Because the most effective HR strategies leverage technology to free up time for high impact activities such as coaching, mentoring, and strategic workforce planning. Human and technology can coexist with each other, but there cannot be a situation where we replace one another. We could replace ourselves for mundane activities, but not for what we think is core. So that's my take on this, Raki.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Anjan, and setting the context, right? So, of course, automation is there, and we see that, when we say automation, HR technology having its, role in literally all the HR processes that we see today. But in fact, even after incorporating that, it's very imperative that we do not lose out on the human touch, because at the end of the day, it's HR, human resources, and we can't take human away from human resources. So thank you so much for sharing that, Anjan. Coming to Pakzad, and a follow-up question to this, right? Again, I mentioned another study that said 56% of employees appreciate automation for speeding up the processes, but nearly 49% worry that it will make HR feel less human and accessible, which I think we just discussed now, right? So, Pakzad, according to you, how can organizations design an automation strategy that balances both efficiency with empathy?
Yeah, so I mean, see, number one, we have to acknowledge that it is a critical challenge. Okay. How much ever technology you apply, without the human interface, it's not going to, it's like two sides of the coin, you know. And it mainly also raises concerns about human resources feel less human and accessible. So, like more technology, will we be having access to people, etc. What we forget is that automation is a tool that was created by us humans itself to enhance productivity, not replace human interaction. I think if that we keep at the center, and moreover, at the heart of any successful automation strategy is the organization's culture. Uh, how automation is implemented, how it is perceived. Strong and well-defined cultures tend to integrate automation more effectively, ensuring that it complements the human role rather than replacing it. I'll give you an example. In a environment or a culture which is evolved where there's mutual trust, automation, especially in terms of performance, focuses on output and metrics and encouraging human interaction and feedback. Whereas conversely, you will see that where cultures are not yet evolved, where trust has a long way to go, the focus will be on strict monitoring, attendance systems, your time sheets, and blah blah blah. And the human interaction front is totally lacking. So, as we move along that, we need to assess our cultural landscape. Automation, yes, handle repetitive tasks, payroll, your administration of ESI, CPF, blah, blah, blah. But focus on sensitive concerns about career development, performance, and personal concerns should not go the automation way ideally, though even that has a tendency with these new platforms coming up. Recently I went through an evaluation which was with AI, and AI gave me an answer saying that, you lacked here, but I think you got through. So I mean, I just didn't know how to respond to that. While his points were more on my English and comprehension of English, didn't detect my tone, didn't detect my visual expressions, and see, AI can provide you lots of insights on employee engagement, sentiment, and all of that. But at the end of the day, if we don't interpret these insights and address them empathetically, it's not going to work out. So I'll just add that culture shapes impact. And AI should support, but not override the human judgment at the same time. And before I close, on this question, we've always heard this Peter Drucker quote: "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." It includes automation strategy. And at the beginning, I said automation is just a tool, if you remember. So if you look at it that way, culture is the operating system that makes it work. That's about it. Yeah. Thanks,
Very true, Pakzad, and thank you so much for articulating that for us. the way you did, because as you mentioned, like literally today, I think even teenagers or maybe people, students in middle schools, right, or high school, they are using artificial intelligence to decode their homeworks today, right? So it's not something that's not accessed by say a lot of people. It's accessible to literally everybody out there who knows how to use a cell phone, or how to do a Google search. So AI is of course present everywhere, and we can't help but incorporate that in all the functions that we may be it in HR or marketing or coding, etc. It's there, and it's there to stay. And as you said that, right, automation is made by humans, technology is invented by humans. So we can't let it downplay us because
Yeah,
it's us who has created it. And but what matters is, and what's important is that there's a proper implementation of any automation tools or HR technology that you're investing in, and that your employees or the people who are directly communicating with that technology knows how to use it effectively. It can't be that, okay,
absolutely.
what, we have implemented this for you and it's going to help you, it's going to help us transform your experiences, but
Yeah,
they don't know how to use it themselves. So it's very important that we implement it in the right way, and then we make time for that meaningful conversations that we spoke of in the beginning. That
very true.
automation is here to give us data driven insights that will then help us make these meaningful decisions when it comes to our employees, the heart of the organization. So thank you so much for sharing that, Pakzad. Now,
Thank you.
again, a very follow up question to this. We spoke about culture, right? So Anjan, to you, there's another study, research from McKinsey, that highlights companies with highly digitized HR functions sees a 20% boost in employee satisfaction, but only if technology enhances and not replaces personal connections that we spoke about in length now. So when we talk about culture or leadership, right, what cultural or leadership shifts are needed to maintain this balance? Because we can always say that you need to invest in HR technology, or you need to train your employees, but when it comes to leadership level also, or a cultural shift in the organization, how do we go about it? How do we balance this with the larger workforce?
I'm sure we could use this question to go on for the next 2 days, but I'll try my best to keep it as simple as possible. Organizations, I, in my personal opinion, I think organizations must embrace what I probably would call a high tech, high touch approach, where digital tools enhance rather than diminish human connection. Like, while automation can improve efficiency, leaders need to actively foster meaningful interaction. Now, for example, AI-driven feedback, like how Paksad said in the examples earlier, AI-driven feedback systems provide instant performance insight, but the genuine conversations between managers and employees still remain very essential. Now, companies that successfully balance HR digitization with human-centric leadership, they emphasize coaching, storytelling, and regular check-ins, to ensure technology strengthens workplace culture rather than making it a little impersonal. That's the way you could balance digitization with human connection, my opinion. And it needs to be there. You need to have the human element alive, especially with some of these specific conversations. Everything cannot be done by a system. Yes, we invented it, but there's also an individual evaluation that more than that needs the eye. Okay, so it's important for us to really look at it in that regard.
Definitely. And I'm sure this resonates with everybody, right? When it comes to, and I think this is the season of performance appraisal for most of the companies, right? And we see that we are getting these forms, or there's a link that's generated. You need to go add your reviews there. Your manager will come in. He'll or she'll add their, reviews there. And then we give the insight, we get the insights that, okay, this equals to say a 3-star rating or a 4-star rating. And that's about it. But the real task comes in after that evaluation comes in and you have the data in front of you. Then the manager should have that conversation with the employee that, okay, this is where you are doing exceptionally well, and this is the area that you need to improve upon, or then these are the courses maybe that you can do, or any other recommendations that he or she would have for the employee. So it's very important that conversations keep happening between two teams, between two people, and that shouldn't be, we shouldn't be too dependent on automation and technology to do all the work, because if that becomes the case, then, as we said in the beginning, it's going to be very transactional. There's going to be no, conversation, and then nothing meaningful will come out of it. And when no meaningful conversations are happening, I think a lot of employers would also agree, no meaningful work also comes out of that, right? Until there's connection, until there's feedback mechanism, until we are speaking regularly and sharing feedback with us, I think that's where the real difference comes in. So thank you for sharing that, Anjan. And from for the audience also, I would love to hear from you all also. What do you feel that, okay, if automation, of course, we can't function today without automation or a technology. Everything that you come up with, it has technology in it. So that's already, established. But how do we strike the balance between automation, technology, and human connection is something that we need to strategize upon and keep having those conversations within our team members as well. Before moving to my next question, I think I would love to hear from the audience also, if they are currently prioritizing automation or not, if this is something that they are evaluating, in their organizations or not. So let me just quickly launch the poll, and then we can have, we can take it from there. I hope the poll question is visible to all of you. So in your organization's HR strategy, how is automation currently prioritized? It's efficiency first, automate as much as possible, or balanced automation with careful focus on personalization, human first, limited automation to preserve personal touch, or no clear strategy yet, we are still exploring options. Again, not a wrong or a right answer. This is just to understand your perspective and see how you are using technology today. Another 15 seconds, and then we'll end the poll. Okay, let me end the poll now. And let me share the result with all of you. Okay, so majority of you, 57% says balanced, automation with careful focus on personalization. 19% human first, limited automation to preserve personal touch. 17% says efficiency first, automate as much as possible. And 7% not clear strategy yet. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing this. Now, my next question is actually going to be on this. Now, we saw majority of people said that, of course, automation is important, it's there, but do it with personalization. Because when it comes to technology, right, if I give a prompt to ChatGPT, for example, today, it will get, and we have the same prompt, the same, maybe description or prompt that we have given, and some other person also gives it at the same time. 99.99% it's going to give the same response to both of us, right? Now, it's very simple that, we talk about ChatGPT or any other thing for that matter, that there's technology, and we say that, okay, this is for all these people combined. And we are not considering freshers or mid-level or leadership people, or people who prioritize maybe remote workforce, or people who prioritize, say, work from office, any scenario that we take, right? So personalization, of course, takes the center stage. No matter how much technology you have invested in and how great your people are with technology, it's very important that you make the experience personalized as well. When we talk about employee experience, and especially after the pandemic, there's been a lot of conversation on personalizing, making employee experience feel personalized, feel that, okay, they belong to this organization, or when anybody talks to them, they feel that personal connect there, that people understand them, right? So my question to you would be, Pakzad, on this. A recent LinkedIn Workplace Trends report found that companies blending technology with personalized employee experiences have 2.2x higher retention rates. And I'm sure everybody, in the audience also would agree with us on that. So, when it comes to that, what practical steps can organizations take to ensure automation enhances rather than, of course, detracts from personalized experiences? How we can have a blend of both?
First, I just reflect back on that question that you put up. And frankly, the answer is a multi-dimensional answer because the answer to that question depends on where you are in your people journey, you know. So are you starting? Are you midway? Are you all your policies, processes set? Is your culture in identifiable condition? Because culture is ever evolving, you know. But anyway, right now I'll just come back to the question. I think the first thing that I would do is to empathize the human connection. What I mean by that is technology should enhance the human connection, not replace it. Most successful organizations that I know automate thoughtfully, not aggressively. So you did see that come out. See, while they're saying personalization, I think it's about applying thought. And that's why they chose that because personalization is way deeper. Uh, on the contrary, the term hyper personalization had become a big word in HR 2 years ago. Everything had to be hyper personalized. And the second thing is streamline the administrative tasks, no doubt. Do it first. Predictable, repetitive tasks, freeing up people for all the nuanced and meaningful work. The saved time can be reinvested into building deeper relationships. Uh, Next would be blending automation with the personal experiences. Yes, it achieves higher retention rates and employee satisfaction scores. See, the outcome that you will see from automation is not from the automation. You will see it in your ESAT and your net promoter scores, etc. That's where you'll see your answer. So automation ROI goes for a toss after it's made. So because utilization, training, all that comes into play. It's the outcome, and it's very difficult to measure. Very frankly, putting it. Um, Next would be the use of technology judiciously. AI can be used to filter out routine queries, but complex or emotionally charged issues should not be handled by should be only handled by human agents who can respond with empathy and understanding. Like how I told you that, I got this report, oh, you should have been crisper, you should have done this, you should have done this, but we have got you through. Now, the thing is that what basis was it evaluated? And you're trusting this as an organization. And this is my constant problem with the ATS systems, which iron out a lot of good talent. Uh, I have a lot of grievances, so I won't get down to them, otherwise we'll never end. Uh, Moving on, intentional design. This is what is very important. Does it remove friction or create it? Does it feel supportive or impersonal? Or most importantly, does it free up human capacity for moments that truly matter? That's what I spoke about initially. But it has to be done intentionally, not after you've done the implementation. Okay. And of course, HR professionals, guys, you really need to keep enhancing your emotional intelligence. You may think you know emotional intelligence. It's way deeper than any topic on the planet, and it needs to be honed. So it's you're not going to have emotional intelligence dealing in the first year or second year of your job. It comes with time and dealing with employees and also doing the homework on the theoretical front. Last but most important is something interesting, which is shift in perspective. Most organizations will ask, what can we automate? But maybe you want to do it. How can automation make our human interactions more meaningful? The shift from technology first to this human centered approach uh, transforms automation from the cost cutting tool that it is signed up to do to a relationship strength tool. Maybe when you're doing your ROIs, see, many of the businesses I will ask you for an ROI of your HRMS. And half of the time, 99.9999% is cost reduction. Okay. So I'll tell you a very unfavorable question that a CHRO is asked is if a HRMS is deployed, how many people in your team will be reduced? This is a very frank question, and it makes logical sense also. So the answer to that is it's going to free up people to do more. So how will you measure that? That's why it's important to look into how what relationship strengthening will they do. So when you look at ROI, don't only look at subtract, but look at what you will add, right? Saying that you'll be questioned on tangibility, which will always be rooted back to the question of retention, attraction, and engagement. Yeah. Anyway, I'll leave you all with that much for now. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Pakzad. Very detailed, very practical, and very, I think, relatable to all the HR folks who have joined us today. Because these are, of course, the questions that are often asked, and it's very important, to first understand, okay, what is your requirement, what is your objective that you are trying to achieve with having, an automation tool in your system or investing into HRMS, because something that might work for a large corporation might not work for a small or mid-sized company. So it's very, very important that we have the objective right. And when we have that objective right, you did say that, right? Yeah, we are often asked questions on ROI, or if it's going to increase or reduce the number of people in your team. So when it comes to, I think, HRMS or investing in HR technology, we see it's not just one thing that one task that gets automated, or you move to that. There's we talk about employee experience, and we have, I think, a lot of L&D is also involved into that. There's payroll processes, of course. There's a very ethical approach to that when it comes to payroll processes or compliance. So we have to be mindful of that fact as well. But of course, thank you so much for sharing all these practical insights. I think it's very helpful, and our audience would agree with us on that. Moving to my next question for Anjam, right? So we discussed about the use of automation, the use of HR technology, and how it's and how we can enhance employee experiences by adding technology, but also having by adding technology, driving more meaningful conversations between employees and employers, HR managers, and employees. So but with that, I think a lot of skills are also required. Previously, when we talked about an HR professional role, it was maybe very say administrative, right? But now we see that, and in fact, I had this conversation with one of the leaders, I think 6 or 7 months back, where we talked about how she met somebody who she had mentored and who she had hired 20 years back or so. And they randomly met in a mall, and they recognized her. They came to her and said that, okay, you hired me at this role, and this is the trajectory of my career today. And these are the maybe some conversation they might have had on what is it that he or she should explore upon, and they guided and that state. So when it comes to HR, and when it comes to human resources, that is the impact that we're talking about, the impact that we bring into the lives of our people that we meet every day, hire every day, right? So of course, now a lot of new skills are also required, and we see that there's a report from Gartner that says that 60% of HR roles will need significant reskilling by 2027. So when we say reskilling, of course, I think when we say reskilling or any upskilling that's required, of course that happens because of new situations that are coming up, new scenarios, new tools and technologies, new market shifts, right? So in your view, what skills would be most crucial for HR teams to thrive in this new environment? I think Pakzad did touch upon emotional intelligence, so we'll we'll hop on on that as well. But of course, adding to that, what other skills do you think are most important today?
So thank you. I think this is a very, very pertinent question, and it's a laundry list of sorts. But I'll try and see if I can choose top three. Emotional intelligence is at the core. You need to have it irrespective, right? And I totally agree with Paksad. But but come to think of it, Raki, as automation reduces manual workload. First things first, it's all about the mindset. HR professionals must develop skills that position them as strategic business partners. There's a mindset change that's needed. And key competencies that I think of, three that comes to my mind is data fluency, human-centric problem solving, agility and change management. These could be my top three I would pick because a lot of things could kind of fall under these aspects. Now, when you say data fluency, it is more about the ability to interpret workforce analytics, use insights that you get from technology for informed decision making. And when you say human centric problem solving, it is about how do I combine empathy with technology to enhance the whole employee experience. So, and that's where the magic happens, right? So, unless you bring in that human element there, you can't get a machine to do a lot of empathy. Trust me, you need a human to do it. Agility and change management is when say how are we helping organizations and employees navigate digital transformation effectively. So it's very important to have a structured approach. You can bring in all the change you want, and like you and Pakzad were alluding to earlier, sometimes I would question, is the automation necessary? Because there is a platform where somebody's loving to engage and connect with each other. It's not going to give me that much of a benefit if I automate. Should I really do it? Especially in smaller organizations, they would prefer the in-person connect rather than having something automated that they don't not too interested in. And there are only so many opportunities in smaller organizations that you get to connect with each other. So why do you want to lose that out for a few dollars? I'm sure they would probably give that away to have that engagement going through. So the leading organizations out there, when I study, they're investing in upskilling HR teams in some of these areas because it's important for them to ensure that they stay ahead of technological advancements, but also mindfully maintaining a people first approach in terms of how we look at critical skills. I'd
Very
probably
true.
I'll try and sum it up with this because if I go into more plethora of details, we probably end the talk right here.
No, I completely understand, and thank you so much. These are very valid skills that you talked about, right? Very important that we have emotional intelligence. We have HR should know how to navigate change management in organizations, use digitization and implement it in the right way, and of course having the agility to work in any kind of environment that is there. Because, and I think a lot of this did, and I think whenever I have these sessions, I can't help but mention the pandemic because when it comes to HR and the way we work today and the way workforces have also transformed, the leadership have also transformed the way they think is especially because of the pandemic. We did see, because that was like something that came out of the syllabus, and for a high schooler, for a and a question that was from a PhD course maybe. So that was the kind of situation that pandemic brought in. And there, I think HR professionals, and kudos to all of you here, and people in our audiences also, that HRs did play a very crucial role in managing the workforce in such a difficult situation, in such a difficult time period. And that wasn't again a thing which was just for a week. Okay, for a week you need to do this, and let's shift from this to this, and after a week we'll reconnect and we'll have everything go back to normal. It was almost like a 2 years thing that went on and on, and there were new strategies that HRs had to come up with, new ways to engage with employees. We're not seeing them face to face. How do we ensure that the work is getting done on time, or if people are actually working, or having the time of their lives. So a lot of changes did happen in the pandemic, and that of course I think accelerated the way we talk about the new skills that HR should have today. So thank you so much for sharing the emotional intelligence, HR digitization, change management, agility. That's very important today. So I'll move on to the next question. We talked in length, of course, about automation and investing in HR technology, right? And we do see that automation also, today we are sort of relying or investing in automation for our performance reviews and employee feedback, right? So Pakzad, to you my question would be, when it comes to tracking how it's working for us or not, or what are the key metrics or data points that we should track to ensure that automation enhances employee experience or engagement, rather than making the processes feel very impersonal. Of course there's a lot of human intervention that we'll need there, but when it comes to automation, what are some data points that we should keep in mind?
Hmm. So, just to add on to the last question, I think that you're absolutely right. I think that one thing that COVID did to HR leaders, at least or HR professionals, because it was a larger question, was develop grit and also understand the context which the business is coming from. I think that these two are very important as we move into the automation space as well, because every rupee or dollar counts, you know. Now, coming back to how do we look at key metrics where this is concerned, where automation is concerned. One, I'll give you two based on time first, you know, and it's not your simply by counting your forms or processing times, etc., but look at a conversion ratio. Now you'll be thinking I'm talking about recruitment, but no, I'm not. Conversion ratio in terms of the number of meaningful HR human discussions that emerge from those automated touch points, you know, which will tell you how technology is enhancing or is it diminishing the employee experience. That's one on time. And the other on time is obviously the measurable shift where administrative tasks will decrease and coaching conversations will increase. You know, it's not to replace human connection, but to create more space for it to flourish. Now, beyond time, if I was to look at it, I would look at something called the sentiment analysis, or this is because, I also study behavior. Okay, so behavioral economics and this tie in together. And you know, when you pick up a phone and you dial Vodafone, you get the automated dialer, and then you're frustrated. You're going 1, 0, 2, 4, 5, press this, and then it starts talking. And then finally, it comes to a part where it says escalate to agent or escalate to human, right? So track the number of times this happens. And these data points help you identify precisely where technology should step back and human judgment should come in the beginning itself. Because otherwise, the user's already frustrated, aren't you? I mean, waiting on that call with the dialer, you're going mad here. So, I mean, it's how it takes over. And this adds to your engagement score also. He's frustrated. So he's going to give you a rating, horrible system, but does bar the buy a button, nothing came up, you know. So, and have clearly defined areas where human intervention will be better to add the greatest value, you know. Lastly, the ultimate measure of success is how much of the HR function we automate, or whether it's not that. It's not how much of the HR function we automate, but it is whether employees feel more seen, heard, and supported as a result of these technological changes. The brownie points are coming from the outcomes of these systems. Okay. What's meaningful? I'll give you an example, you know, and also when automation is designed with this outcome in mind, it serves as a bridge for a meaningful human connection rather than a substitute for it. So how I'll just tell you how one example where I was previewed to one of the big four had developed a PMS platform which had AI embedded. Now the AI was embedded in the performance management, and this will scare people or this will make people happy. Okay, the AI first evaluated your self appraisal against the goals, and to just help you be honest, it just looked at your set goals and your self appraisal and said, buddy, you know, either you've done well or either you've not done well before you submit it to manager. And then it evaluated the manager, saying that what you have said is biased. Maybe you want to look back at it. Now, my question in that forum came up is then why do I need a manager? But that, that upset a lot of people. But I think I'll just skip on and move forward. But what I'm trying to say is that based on this, the aided discussions that are happening are more about not about the sales number was 10 and you achieved 7, but why did you not do it? What went into it? You know, so it's a more qualitative and meaningful conversation. So that's about it from me on this topic. I hope these help. They're a little out of the normal scope of ticking the box of forms processed and interventions completed, answered by the AI chatbot or not answered. You know, those are old metrics now. Thank
No,
you.
completely agree with you on this, Pakzad. And in fact, when you spoke the word qualitative, that it's more qualitative, it was literally at the back of my mind that okay, yes, this is more of qualitative assessment or results that it gives rather than a
Sure.
quantitative maybe figures that we are looking at. So very true. It's
Right.
very important that once we implement and we see the numbers, we just don't keep looking at the numbers. We also need to see okay, this is the number now. What do we do about it? Where are the gaps? We need to identify the gaps. This is why it's happened. So these key metrics and data points, it's very important because at the core of it today, all of that we have discussed is automation and human intervention, right? And creating a meaningful environment and meaningful conversation. So once we have these data points with us, it helps us identify these gaps which are there, or maybe okay, this is a great thing which is working for us, and then move on to the strategy. So we talked about how we have moved from that administrative tasks or manual tasks to more meaningful conversations or focusing more on strategies today. Today, HR professionals, senior HR leaders, sit at the CXO table and we discuss strategies. It's no longer about paying the salary on time. It's more beyond that, right? So thank you so much, for sharing this with us, Pakzad. Now, I only have a couple of more questions from my end, but I think I do see people raising their hands. So for all of you in the audience, you can start putting across your questions in the Q&A option, which is there on the screen. You just need to click on the Q&A panel and you can type in the question there and we'll take it from there. Since we have like another 10 to 15 minutes left, I would urge each one of you to ask as many questions as you can, or any feedback or any maybe anecdote that you would like to share with us of implementing automation, or trying to strike a balance between automation and human intervention. So we'll wait for your questions, but yes, until we have any questions from the audience, I'll move on to the next question. Just last question for each one of you. So Anjan, to you, we talked about automation and investing in HR tech in length today, right? But if you would like to maybe share, a creative use of automation that you did see in your organizations or in your peer group, somebody implemented automation and it helped very creatively in enhancing the employee experience of the workforce. So any such examples or maybe anecdotes that come to your mind, if you can share that with us.
Super gamble of a question, but I'll try to attempt answering it without being too how do we say ambitious about it. I've heard some from the industry, so let me share some industry thoughts here. One, I agree. Yes, automation is being leveraged in very innovative ways to create more personalized and engaging employee experience. Honestly, people are scratching their brains to see how they use automation to uh, bring in extra merit to what they do. One standout example I've seen is AI-driven onboarding. Now, this is where technology tailors an employee's first few months based on their role, location, career aspiration. It draws that path for them, which is good. So, once you have that clarity, so it helps the employee to understand that path, and then, of course, have a in-person conversation with their respective managers. Another emerging trend, especially for leaders, particularly that I've seen, is AI-powered career coaching. Now, here employees receive customized learning recommendation and internal mobility suggestion aligned with their skills and goals, right? That's something that's great because you're using the technology to its fullest. But at the same time, you're not allowing it to make that decision for you, only to give you options. So you have the scope of research work done for you with your skill. Now you decide which path works for you basis that. You want to take a total different tangent, it's up to you. That's where your human element comes to play. But at least you have something that gives you a base. And then, like how Pakzad said, in performance management, there are some organizations who are using AI to surface real-time insight. But at the same time, they're ensuring that human managers remain central to those development conversations. So, as a manager, sometimes we all know and we've all been managers at some point in time in our career, getting all of those insights together handy in a timely manner is crucial. So, and when you have those insights of, say, you could have people, 40 people reporting to you, 20 people reporting to you, average 10 people reporting to you. Now, maintaining insights for each one of them could be a tad difficult, of course. And I'll tell you personally, I have done it. I've had about almost 25, 30 people reporting to me at one point in time. So maintaining insights for them is very, very difficult. But if you get those insights, but how then you could have more driven, meaningful conversations. Conversations can be more impactful, more effective, more efficient. So you're able to be at the table. You're able to make those conversations happen. So even though you bring in technology, and to in a very lighter note answer Pakzad's question of is a manager really necessary? Yes, so that you could drive those conversations forward and build direction and clarity, which is quintessential to an employee to understand how they carve their journey forward. Because uh, a lot of system today gives us a lot of things, Raki. I mean, we have an plethora of information, and let me tell you, that's also bane in one way because we have got a lot of information. We don't know which one to choose from. Back were those days where we had simple options A, B, and C. Today we have A, B, C, A1, A2, A3, and we have a lot of options. So how do you channelize your minds to select what's right for you? Could be one. So these are some creative uses that I've seen. I thought I'll share some which we might have not heard very often, but the cliche ones are all out there. So people still use them, and they still, I would say, sometimes abuse them too. But yeah, they're there.
Thank you so much for that, Anjan. Really insightful. And of course, I think a lot of people would also agree and resonate with that and would want to maybe implement some in case that fits the objective that they're also looking for. So thank you so much for sharing that. Just one last question for you, Pakzad, which is, now somebody, some company who's just starting with their HR technology journey and they haven't done anything yet and they're just exploring options, right? What would be your top strategic recommendation to them to ensure that they build automation with a human touch so that it's there since the very beginning and they don't have to go back again, see, reevaluate, and then come up with something that also helps in personalization? So if they're starting out with their HR technology journey now, what would be your strategic recommendation for them?
See, I go back. Sorry, I'll just. Am I unmuted? Yes. No, I go back to culture because see, culture is a very loaded word. Maybe just the regime the company follows. If it's an authoritarian one, this AI solution is a dream come true, man. I mean, don't have to sit, don't have to do. This guy has done his appraisal, ho gaya, tick, 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 bell curve auto created, no conflict, nothing, But if it's it's something that has a developed form or more with the times, I think, or more. I don't even know whether I can use the word democratic anymore because there's a lot of different meanings. But it depends on how that comes about. And see, in my LinkedIn post, in your LinkedIn post, I put a line over there that between people and technology, process is like a marriage counselor, trying to get the job done. But today I'm going to talk to you about somebody who's there ahead of that equation, who's called Cupid, CUPID, the Cupid, so in this relationship. And that Cupid is not process mapping, but it's journey mapping. So, invest that time in mapping the emotional journey of your employees through key HR touch points. Tense whether once you have that pulse, you'll know whether this kind of automation is going to work for you or not. You know, understand which moments matter to them. Do they like receiving recommendation? Do they like discussing about career growth, or are they running in every direction when you catch them for career growth? Or navigating personal challenges also, because some places challenges, we all have our challenges, and this country requires support on that quotient. And these emotionally significant interactions should be protected and enhanced, not just automated away and ho gaya. um, the approach flips the traditional automation strategy on its head. I said this earlier also. It's not what we can automate, it's slowly becoming. And also, if you look at all these seminars, tech HR, automate HR, blow up HR, I don't know, whatever, so nobody talks about this, that what must remain human, or how can automation support these human moments. Brings me back to my journey with a big company. And when I exited from there, I clicked a button. Okay. I said resign. Then it said, go to this room, hand over laptop, ID card. I handed over, and then come back and click here. So I went to the next level. I got a letter in my box saying accepted. Then I got then I clicked another button. It said bye, and I was leaving the office. So, I mean, is that what we want? And then I get calls. After I finish the system, I exited the system, my FNF is being processed, then they want to retain you. So, that's a disconnect in the entire environment. And these guardrails prevent technology from encroaching on interactions where human judgment, empathy, relationship building are essential. So empathy is not the only thing protected. There are lots of other human emotions that go into a person. So anyway, once these boundaries are established, the actual design process through pilots and feedback loops should be tested. So do that, check it out. Is it working? Take a small demographic, do it. Do it with the implementer. Say I want to do it for one section and see how it's working, and then take it, scale it up. So, either you that fail fast or succeed early or whatever, whichever you want to use, you can, but test it on the folks. Tell them, are you happy with it? Because later, you can go back and say you only signed off on the dotted line. So make them part of your journey, and you will quickly identify when automation feels supportive versus where it creates distance. And finally, to stop talking, I urge you to use automation to enhance, not erode relationships. I think that's where it comes to. Yeah. Thank you
Very
so much.
true. Very true, Pakzad. Thank you so much for sharing that. And, as you mentioned, it's very important to keep taking those regular feedbacks because, once we have used a system, say for a year or 18 months, and then we come back and say, okay, you know what, this is not working for us, you will also have to answer to a lot of people from top management to your employees, right, who are using that. So it's very important that we take feedback, regular feedback, and see if it's something which is helping, which is supporting, as you said, or if there's more work required, or there's more that we can do, and it's not uh, you know
Yeah. Just to
yeah,
add then, make the people part of the evaluation team, not just wait to test the product on them. Make them part of that journey to evaluate the product as well. Because end user input is as important as leadership input when it comes to measuring your ESAT or your net promoter score or retention, etc. So
very true,
that's it. Yeah. Sorry, I said I
very
won't
true.
talk.
Of course. Now, this has been like a very insightful discussion. Wonderful to have you both here with us today. We discussed about, the role of automation, of enhancing, of course, with automation, we can enhance employee experiences, but we cannot take away the human intervention, which is very, very required. We talked about how employees crave personalized experiences and what we can do as HR professionals, as people who are responsible to create that awesome experience, personalized experiences for our employees, to, of course, having empathy and culture in our organizations, because that is something that is, that tops the chart, right? It's very important to have that culture that make people thrive with or without technology, of course. And of course, with the new scenarios that are coming up with new tools and technologies, it's very important for us HR professionals to keep upskilling and reskilling ourselves with the new tools and technologies which are there in the market. So thank you so much. This has been a wonderful conversation today. A lot to take away from this conversation that we had. Hope you also enjoyed the conversation. I personally really liked it. And I'm not from an HR background. So, when I get into these conversations, it helps me understand so much. And, the respect for HR professional just, increases every time I have this conversation, because, there's a lot of responsibility which is there, on HR professionals, and they have been doing some excellent job. I have met some, exceptional HR leaders, HR professionals. So kudos to all of you for doing the great work that you all are doing, and for the lovely conversation today.
Thank you, Raki. There are a few questions. Do you want to take them, or is it?
Yes. So I'll just come to those questions now. So the first question is, where should a small organization start when it is struggling with, when it is struggling to establish an empowered culture? Either of you who would want to take this one up?
I can start. Maybe Pakzad, you can add. So maybe the first step is start by defining and communicate clear values. Because you say you're a small organization and you want to, if you're struggling to establish an empowered culture, there's there is a lack of clarity. So you start defining and communicating a clear values, because uh, employees need to know what empowerment looks like. Also, train leaders to coach, not micromanage. Very, very important in such organizations, because it helps you to create that psychological safety from an environment per se that you personally have. Give ownership, recognize and reward empowered behaviors, embed empowerment into the system. How do you minimize some rigid hierarchies, create more autonomy, and finally, clarity, trust, and action. That is what is going to help you establish an empowered culture, especially if you're a small organization and it's struggling to establish this. Some thoughts that want to
Thank
come
you
to
so
mind.
much for that, Anjan. Pakzad, would you like to add something?
You're on mute.
I was hoping not to hear that, yeah, because you've heard it so much. You're on mute. You're on mute. Anyway, but see, I've worked for small organizations and taken them to the global stage, and I kind of understand. My thing would be start small. Uh, you remember that first question that Raki put up, and contextually, starting small and showing success in those smaller areas will open up your door to take on or establish, get more, what do you say, brand capital for yourself. And build. I'm assuming right now you're talking about automation, because empowered culture is a whole new ball game. So right now with automation, I would say that start small, start in effective areas, see what the people's problem is, and also if you want to get empower yourself, get the people on your side to go to the management and say that this is required. So, I think that empowerment comes from being together as well. So my trick over there was to take the population with me. So I think that will help you, and focus on small wins, which will build your equity for taking on larger projects and getting approval for larger projects. And also, when I was with an organization with scaled, I started with tools that were cheaper and went upwards. Technology will always do what it says does. There are only two problems that are there. One is the quality of your data, and the second is how strong your processes are. So focus on these things right now. Establish your equity in the company, and I'm sure that they will empower you or give you more budget to do more such initiatives. Yeah. I hope that helps. Yeah.
Definitely does. Thank you, Pakza. Thank you, Anjan, for those insights. Moving to the next question from Richa Agarwal. Hi, thank you for an engaging session. Thanks to both of you, and thank you, Richa, for attending the session. The question is, recommendation for the best tools or sites to measure emotional intelligence. Do we have anything Yeah, any tools or
Frankly,
sites?
it's too big a question, and it's
Correct.
too there are too many tools out there, and possibly I'm going to say this here on this call, AI will do a better job of identifying that for you than me. So,
Indeed. Indeed.
of course, the quality of your query to AI will determine the outcome. What exactly in the emotional quotient space you want to do. So,
Thank
yeah. I
Understood.
think the
Thank you for that,
next
Pakzad.
question, if you want, Anjan, I can take on, and though it's asked to you specifically. So I think,
Okay, so I'll just read
Anjan,
out the question. So this question is
uh,
from Chitra Menon, and she's directed it to you, Anjan. Since you talked about AI-powered onboarding and AI-powered career coach, is it not compromising your data security as well? So both of you can add your insights here.
So I can start, Pakzad. Maybe you can add in. So
yeah,
I've
yeah, yeah.
heard this. So in general, Chitra, is organizations implementing tools. Of course, it's a given for that we'll have to look at employee data is handled responsibly, right? So you have to have clear policies on data access, usage, protection. Some practices that I've read through when I told you that I had seen through these articles are using encrypted platforms to protect sensitive information. We all do that today in our organizations. Implementing strict access controls to ensuring an authorized personnel can review personal data. Also maintaining transparency by informing your employees how their data is being used. So, and there's a lot of in compliance features that's put in a lot of organizations. We'll have to agree to a lot of norms, right? So, uh, the GDPR norms and the data norms that we have today, all of that have to be adhered to, and we have to have all those protocols in place. So, as HR leaders, it's good. Technology is a boon and a bane. We'll have to balance the digitization aspect of it very, very well. So, so that we use this, but we use this judiciously and not to a point where we are super vulnerable to all of our data getting impacted.
Right. Thank you so much for
Pakzad,
that, Anjan.
Uh,
Pakzad,
See,
anything?
I'll add to that. Definitely, see, nowadays everything is on the cloud, number one, so everything is automated, everything is uh, encrypted and all that. The worry for me is actually the use of AI like ChatGPT or Perplexity or Cloud or Claude, sorry, or Gemini, is that you're using open models. Now, see, in these open models, you're putting in a lot of information which might not, like, my head count is 200. I want to fire 30%. What will be the outcome? And my company name is X, Y, and Z. You've already given the world information, and this gets fed into a large language model library. So, the concern for me is that before you use AI, I think that many companies right now are actually banning the use of AI in the companies. Of course, you'll still use it on your phone, etc. But the reason is that you're putting information like the finance officer of one company put my GP is this, my boss has told me to reduce cost by this much percent, the net profit before taxes should be this much my and obviously the AI knows he's of a limited company and he's put it out there. It's out there. And tomorrow, when a question is asked that what is the revenue of the XYZ company, the answer will come from the same LLM model, large language model. So just be careful in terms of how you use that AI with confidential information. And don't just is also one more risk that you stand with conversations with AI is hallucination. So it starts dreaming, so you have to be very
yeah,
careful on that count because it weaves a story based on what it knows. So though AI is and as the versions of AI are improving, their context to more and more near known information is improving as well. But again, don't put company information on open models. Okay. So be careful. Don't, at least be smart enough not to mention your company name. Yeah. So while you're doing it.
Definitely. Thank you so much
I
for
don't know
that,
if that
Pakzad.
helps. Yeah. I
No,
have an
definitely
answer for the
helps.
next question also, which is more upset comment. You can actually record this entire thing, convert it into text, put it on an AI tool, and it will create a presentation for you. So,
Definitely.
that's how advanced AI is now, So I don't think I create presentations anymore. I feed it into an AI model and it gets created for me. But
Right,
I think
right.
it's a valid point to take away. Yeah.
Definitely.
Maybe
Thank you
I
so
can
much
share
for.
some inputs. If you follow my LinkedIn profile, I'll share some inputs about what I've spoken about in brief.
Of
I
course, of
hope that
course.
helps. Yeah.
Thank you so much once again for being here with us. We greatly appreciate all of you attending these sessions regularly, and of course to Pakzad and Anjan, thank you so much for being here with us today. It was great to have you both here, and the insights that you shared, of course, was very, very valuable, and I'm sure the audiences are resonating with all that you shared today. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Truly
Raki.
a
Thank you for the
pleasure. Yeah.
opportunity.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for
And also to our audience, we have a great tribe community. And if you want to connect with experts like Pakzad and Anjan, you can sign up to this community, Great Tribe. It's a free community where you will have access to HR leaders, payroll experts, labor law experts. And if you have any questions, you can just ask on the community, and they would be happy to help you with the responses. Also, we are available on WhatsApp as well. You can scan the QR code which is there on your screen, and you can connect with us for faster responses for related to our product Great HR, or these sessions that we have been having, or any support that you require. We would be happy to connect with you there. Also, we have another webinar coming up soon on 20th March. I have shared the registration link of the webinar in the chat. You all can access that right now, and you can register if that is something that you would be interested in attending. Also, as promised in the beginning, the session recording will be shared with all of you. And if you have any questions, you can write to me on the email ID which is displayed on the screen. Once again, thank you so much, and thank you especially Pakzad and Anjan for being here with us today. I know we have we have gone 20 minutes more into the session, but really appreciate all the insights that you shared. Thank you so much once again.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you.
lovely week ahead. Bye,
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
so
everyone.
much.
Have a
Thank you,
great.
everybody. Bye bye.
Thanks for
Thank
bearing
you.
with us.
Yeah, indeed.
Bye.
See you.
Thank you,
See you.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Take
Bye.
care.